Hello everyone, welcome back to Premier League Unfiltered. I hope you're all doing well. The 2026 World Cup group stages are officially wrapped up. The round of 32 is completely locked in, and the Premier League transfer window is descending into absolute madness. We've got structural breakdowns, tactical dilemmas, and major squad shifts to look at. So let's dive straight into it. But before we jump into all the action, a quick mention to Fantasy Football Hub, who we've partnered with for today's episode. With the Premier League season getting closer and squads starting to take shape through transfers, now is actually the perfect time to start thinking about your Fantasy Premier League draft. Fantasy Football Hub has loads of tools for player comparisons, fixture planning, and squad building. So if you're already preparing for FPL, check out the link in the description below. Alright, let's start with the big one, the World Cup. The group stages are done, and we finally have our 32 teams ready for the knockouts. And as we speak, the action is actually kicking off with South Africa versus Canada. It's a massive high tempo battle to get the round of 32 underway, but I expect South Africa to ultimately show their quality and adapt to Canada's press and secure the win to advance. Anyways, moving ahead, let's be completely honest about Portugal. They've arrived at the knockout stage looking incredibly mediocre. The game against Colombia was another massive wake up call. They were arguably the second best team on the pitch, and they just haven't truly arrived at the World Cup yet. And tactically, Martinez is making two glaring mistakes. One is he has to start Rafael Leo on the left wing to give them that explosive direct threat. And Joao Felix needs to start on the right flank instead of Pedro Neto. And Neto has been extremely poor in the three games he's played, and I don't think he deserves a place in the starting 11. And the midfield logic is hurting too. Vitinha needs to stop playing so passively. He has to look for those progressive passes instead of recycling possession sideways. And Bruno Fernandes, there are moments where he doesn't even look like he's on the pitch. You see, Portugal is echoing Manchester United right now. You see, if Bruno Fernandes has a massive game, Portugal plays well, and if he doesn't, the whole team looks completely poor. But undoubtedly, the only saving grace against Colombia were Diego Costa in goal and the centre back pairing of Ruben Diaz and Renato Veiga. Absolutely colossal, monstrous performance at the back, and it gives you real hope that even if Portugal's attack remains disjointed, that defensive wall can keep them from conceding in the knockouts. They face Croatia next, and honestly, I think they'll marginally edge it 2-1 purely on the defensive grit. And then we have Brazil versus Japan. It is going to be very, very interesting. Brazil is leaning heavily into raw transitional speed, while Japan has incredible technical discipline. It's going to be wild end-to-end affair, but I expect Brazil to slightly edge this one and come away with a chaotic 3-2 victory. And for Germany versus Paraguay, Paraguay will try to sit in a low block, but I'm calling a comfortable 2-0 win for Germany. Then we have Netherlands versus Morocco. I think this will be the game of the round of 32. Both of these sides present incredibly dangerous compact setups that nobody wants to trigger on the counter. It's going to be cagey, but I'm backing the Dutch to take it 2-1. Moving down the fixtures, Ivory Coast versus Norway is a proper underdog fight. Ivory Coast brings serious athletic physical presence, but Norway's direct play is going to slice them through. I'm predicting an absolute goal fest here, 4-2 to Norway. France, meanwhile, is looking like an absolute machine. Mbappe's presence dictates defensive shifts, and Ousmane Dembele put on a clinical performance against Norway with a breathtaking hat-trick inside 32 minutes. The game against Sweden is going to be a frantic battle, and I'm calling it a 3-2 win for France. And for Mexico versus Ecuador, this will be another top game. Mexico's high pressing intensity is going to clash with Ecuador's defense, and it's going to be incredibly tight, but I expect Mexico to edge this one 1-0. England versus Congo should be honestly an easy work for England. I'm going for a routine 3-0 win for England. Now, Belgium versus Senegal, another one to watch out for. It's going to be an insane high scoring thriller. I'll go for a wild 5-3 victory to Belgium. And then I expect US to completely beat Bosnia using their midfield dominance, and Spain versus Austria will see Spain's possession dominance overcome Austria's aggressive counter-pressing in a tight 2-1 win for Spain. Switzerland versus Algeria will be a disciplined game, with the Swiss getting a 1-0 win over Algeria. Australia will do exactly the same against Egypt, relies on their structural rigidity to grind out another 1-0 victory. And finally, Argentina didn't look completely convincing in their final group game, but their fierce dogfight mentality will pull them through, and I expect them to cruise past Cape Verde with a comfortable 3-1 win. And finally, Colombia versus Ghana. I expect Colombia's highline aggression to pay off in a 3-1 win. Now, while the teams are battling it out in the World Cup knockouts, the Premier League transfer window has completely lost its mind. The biggest breaking news of the summer, Elliot Anderson to Manchester City, is a done deal. City have agreed to pay a flat 116 million completely upfront with no complex add-on structures. That officially makes him the most expensive British player in football history. And what blows my mind is how calmly City handled this entire situation. City wanted a premium signing for their midfield engine room, and their hierarchy just went and delivered it. And tactically, he fit City's dual 8 system perfectly, alongside Rodri with a high volume ball progression and intense pressing triggers. And he's only 23 years old. He's built perfectly for City's future. But City aren't the only one flexing their financial muscle right now. If you look at Arsenal, they've just had an opening bid of 55 million for Bruno Guimarães rejected by Newcastle. But internal sources are saying that the Gunners are already drafting a massive offer, and tactically, this move totally makes sense for Mikel Arteta. Arsenal desperately need an elite press resistant player to sit alongside Declan Rice, and Bruno Guimarães gives you exactly that elite ball retention, progressive passing, and setting defensive intensity. But then look at the absolute chaos this leaves behind at St James Park. Newcastle is entering a seriously fragile situation. Anthony Gordon is already gone, and now Bruno Guimaraes looks like he's the next one out. But if he leaves, what happens to players like Sandro Tonali and Lewis Hall? They're going to have to fight and figure out what their future looks like. And Newcastle will desperately want to keep them, but players want elite projects, and right now Newcastle's project looks incredibly vulnerable. And speaking of Lewis Hall, that brings me straight to Manchester United and our absolute transfer dilemma. United have been tracking Lewis Hall for ages, but now Chelsea are actively trying to get this deal done because Marc Cucurella has gone to Real Madrid. And as a United fan, I have to be honest, this entire window is starting to become deeply concerning. We started off the blocks quickly by securing Edison even before the window even opened, but since then we've been really quiet. We are supposedly in the race for Mateus Fernandes, but right now Spurs are the actual frontrunners to land him. But I do feel he will come to United in the end. But we're just slowly watching our primary targets slip away one by one, and we have to move quickly and secure our marquee targets because we're seeing other teams entering the race as well. Anyways, that's a wrap for this episode. What do you think of the round of 32 predictions? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Take care, everyone. Bye bye.